You know what's exhausting? Living in a world that keeps asking you to prove yourself. Every room you walk into, there's an unspoken pressure. Be more, do more, show more. And in that pressure, somewhere along the way, you start to believe that your value depends on being visible, on being praised, on being chosen by people who barely see you. You start to shrink your voice to fit into conversations that don't have space for your truth. You begin questioning your worth based on how many people validate it. And that silent war inside you, it's real. It's the tension between who you know you are deep down and who the world says you should be. But let me speak to your spirit today. You are not what they missed. You are what was always seen. The people who didn't affirm you, the opportunities that slipped by, the silence you interpreted as failure, none of that defines you. They didn't see your full heart. They didn't see the quiet tears you cried while staying faithful. They didn't see how many nights you showed up for others while carrying your own unanswered prayers. But heaven did. God's eyes were never blind to you. And he never needed a crowd to confirm what he's always known about you. You are not invisible. You are not a mistake. You are not late. You are exactly where you're meant to be, and you are seen more deeply than words can ever explain. It hurts, doesn't it? To feel like you gave your best and still got overlooked. To be passed over not because you weren't ready, but because they weren't ready for what you carried. You start believing that maybe what you have to offer isn't enough. Or worse, maybe you're not enough. But I want to be clear, you were never overlooked by God. You were hidden, and that difference matters. You weren't buried, you were planted. Seeds don't grow in the spotlight. They grow in the soil, unseen, covered, pressed down. And yet, that's where transformation happens. You were hidden for a reason. Not because you weren't worthy of attention, but because what God placed in you is too sacred to be rushed. Think about that for a second. What if this long season of waiting wasn't punishment, but preservation? What if the delay was divine? God never wastes time. He uses it. And he used this time to shape something in you that could never be formed in comfort. He shaped endurance when nobody clapped. He shaped character when no one was watching. You weren't waiting in silence. You were growing in sacredness. And the world is about to see the fruit of what you nurtured in the hidden places. You don't need to fight for your place. Your place has been reserved by heaven. What's coming for you isn't based on popularity. It's based on purpose. But let's talk about the pain. Not the pain others see. The kind that makes you cry in public or fall apart on the outside. No, I'm talking about the quiet pain. The kind that's lived inside your soul for so long. You stopped expecting it to be healed. The kind you wrapped up and tucked away just so you could function. You got used to saying, "I'm fine," even when your heart was aching. You showed up for your responsibilities while silently questioning your own worth. And still, you kept going. Still, you stayed faithful. But here's what I want you to hear. Your pain didn't break you, it shaped you. The rejection that made you feel unworthy, the silence that made you feel invisible, the disappointments that made you question your calling, they were never meant to destroy you. God used them to refine you. You see, in the kingdom Jesus taught us to walk in, brokenness is not a disqualification, it's a preparation. When you allow God into the wounds, the confusion, the heartache, He doesn't just patch you up and send you back out. He transforms you. He takes the parts of you that were shattered and uses them as vessels of healing, not just for you, but for others. That's what grace does. Grace doesn't erase the pain, it repurposes it. You didn't gain wisdom from success. You gained it from the valleys. You didn't become tender because life was easy. You became tender because you allowed God to soften what life tried to harden. That is strength. That is beauty. That is power. And that is why your journey matters. You don't have to hide your story. You don't have to carry shame for the times you almost gave up. You don't need to pretend anymore. God sees you fully and loves you completely. He never looked away when others did. He never stopped believing in you when you stopped believing in yourself. That pain you thought would define you, He's using it to refine your voice, deepen your compassion, and strengthen your spirit. And you know what's beautiful about that? When you finally rise, and you will, it won't be from performance. It will be from wholeness. From knowing you're loved even when you're not applauded. From knowing you're chosen even when you're not picked. From knowing that the one who sees everything in you still says, "You are mine." So don't be afraid of the hidden seasons. Don't rush the unveiling. What God is doing in you is too precious to be exposed too early. Trust this process. Trust the silence. Trust the slow days. Because He is still writing your story. And every chapter, every tear, every closed door, every lonely night is leading you to something sacred. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are becoming the version of you that was always known in heaven, full of grace, full of power, full of clarity. Not because you forced it, but because you stayed faithful when no one was watching. Let them overlook. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to be validated by man. You are here to be confirmed by God. And in the quiet, in the pain, in the hidden places, that's exactly what He's been doing all along. Let's talk about something we rarely admit out loud. The feeling that life should have turned out better by now. Maybe you imagined yourself further ahead, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Maybe you thought certain wounds would have healed by now. Or maybe you assumed by this age you'd have answers instead of more questions. But here you are, still figuring it out. Still waking up some days wondering if your prayers are working. Still feeling like you're giving your best, but somehow it doesn't feel like enough. And that can shake you. It can make you think you're behind. It can make you question God's timing. But let me remind you of something eternal. God is never late, but often quiet. We assume that silence means absence, that when things aren't moving fast, God must not be moving at all. But Jesus never promised us a life of comfort or predictable results. He promised presence. He promised that when we lose our way, He'll still walk with us. That when we feel overlooked by the world, heaven still holds our name. Some of God's greatest miracles happen in slow motion, not through lightning and thunder, but through quiet transformation. When nobody is watching, when you're still doubting, when the miracle hasn't arrived yet, but something inside you refuses to quit. That's God, working, molding, shaping. Maybe you're looking at your life and wondering, when is it going to be my time? But here's the deeper truth. You were never just waiting on a moment. You were being prepared to carry it. You see, God doesn't rush elevation because premature elevation leads to shallow roots. Jesus spent 30 years in obscurity for a ministry that lasted only 3. Let that sink in. The Son of God wasn't in a hurry. So why are we? We want results, but God wants resilience. We want answers, but God wants alignment. And so He lets us walk through seasons that feel confusing, but are actually calling us closer to His heart. Let's go deeper, into the part of your heart that feels unworthy. That little whisper that says, maybe I messed up too much. Maybe God gave up on me. Or maybe I missed my calling. Listen to me, you're not too far gone. Your mistakes don't cancel your mission. Your weakness doesn't disqualify your worth. Jesus never came for the perfect. He came for the willing, the humble, the brokenhearted, the tired ones. The ones who don't have it all figured out but still say, God, I'm here. I want you. That's who He meets. Every time. He's not ashamed of your brokenness. In fact, He sits right in the middle of it and calls you beloved. And don't think your scars are a liability. They're not. They're your ministry. Because what Jesus taught us is this. Healing isn't just for us. It's meant to flow through us. Your scars will one day speak for someone else's healing. Your pain will become your platform. That dark valley you walk through will be a lamp to someone else who's still trying to find their way. That's the power of walking with Jesus. He turns your history into hope, not just for you, but for the world around you. So don't hide what you've been through. Don't shrink back from your story. Own it. Carry it. Let God shine through it. But there's one more thing. One more shift that happens when you truly follow Jesus, not just in belief, but in lifestyle. You begin to let go of the need to prove anything to anyone. That's the freedom most people never find. Because this world is loud. it demands performance. It demands you explain your decisions, justify your boundaries, apologize for your healing. But Jesus calls you into a different rhythm, a quieter, deeper rhythm. A rhythm where peace is more valuable than praise. Where solitude is not loneliness, but intimacy with God. Where rest is not laziness, but obedience. And when you start walking that way, you stop chasing validation and start choosing alignment. You stop comparing your life to others and start anchoring your soul in what heaven says about you. That's the journey Jesus called us to. Not to gain the world, but to gain our soul. Not to impress crowds, but to live loved even when the crowds walk away. He never asked you to be everything. He just asked you to be faithful with what's in your hands. He never asked you to be fearless. He just asked you to trust Him even when you're afraid. That's enough. You are enough. Because when His Spirit lives in you, there's nothing missing. So as you step into tomorrow, don't rush. Don't panic. Don't lose sleep trying to figure out what only God can reveal in His time. You're not in control, and that's okay. You're not behind, and you're not broken. You're exactly where God can still work with you. Let go. Surrender. Stop carrying what you were never meant to fix on your own. He sees you. He knows your heart. He hears your hidden prayers. And if you let Him, He will lead you into something better than what you were praying for. Not louder, not more glamorous, but more true, more rooted, more eternal. Because the goal was never just a breakthrough. The goal was intimacy. And that, my friend, is worth everything.